Hey everybody, welcome to episode 4 of Ringside Heat Wayback. I am your host, Jose Taboada, alongside the great John Dawson. And you can find me on social media at Taboada93. You can find John at John Dawson Music. Ready here for episode 4 on this Thursday evening. I guess I publish these Thursday evenings on our Ringside Heat YouTube channel. So hopefully you guys have been having a great week so far. Today's episode, zombies? Literally, that is the name of the episode. Originally aired on May 22nd, 2021. So we are nearing the end of May, of course, which of course was Ringside Heat's first month on the airwaves. And the description says Lex Tan is interviewing Vincent Salvadore, a local Toronto actor who shares about his experiences with wrestling that influenced his life, his craft, and his career, as well as the ring crew. Talked about zombies, presuming with the match of the Miz and Damian Priest at WrestleMania Backlash. And we said this also as well at the conclusion of episode 3 that I believe we're going to hear, because the description says that we talk about a live audience for WWE shows in July of 2021. So I presume that means that live shows are on their way back. So eventually, at this point in time, John, excited? What are your thoughts going into this?
Yeah, well, this is our first. This would have been our first PLE since the show started, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And again,
So
we were still live on Saturdays. We were
right
still
at
live on
9,
Saturdays.
was it 9
I
o'clock?
believe it was 9. And then one of the other, I think, and the reasons why we switched from Saturday to Sunday was because WWE made the jump to Saturday pay-per-views, and we were worried we were losing a lot of listener
Yeah.
time. So
And many thanks to Sauga for recognizing that. Like that would have been a tough spot for us,
yeah, for
at least
sure.
once a month anyway.
And so we only really suffer with AEW with, again, they don't do monthly pay per view, so it's fine. And then of course once a year for WrestleMania. Yeah, for WrestleMania. Wow, why did I thought I was gonna add more to that sentence? It was just WrestleMania. So
Can I say though, there's something I kind of miss about the Sunday PLE. I don't know why.
tradition,
Yeah, probably.
maybe that's where that's
I hated it when they ran late if I had something to do in the morning, but when I was a student, it just wasn't a big deal,
of course
right?
not.
Like it's different now because I actually got to go teach. But when I was in my 20s and all I had to do was go to class, maybe it's like Sunday night. It was like a thing to do on Sunday. It made Sundays. I mean, other than mass, of course, if you're Catholic.
Right, and again, like, look what WWE competed with when it came to those things. He competed with Sunday Night Football in the fall,
Yeah,
or let alone put. Well, obviously, you wouldn't book anything on the Super Bowl, right? But mostly, I'm gonna say NFL Sundays in the fall, which has a large viewership. I know the contingency around the world outside of North America complaining that you got to get out of Sunday night because it goes deep into the night because of the time difference, and then we're screwed and we can't enjoy
right.
it. So I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
obviously that move benefited the international market, which,
But now
hey,
at this point, they're still on Sunday nights, right? They hadn't gone to Saturdays full time yet, had they? At
oh,
the
at
time
this
of this show, by this just the
no,
show.
it is still Sundays, yeah,
So there's
because
still Sunday
it is
pay-per-views.
still Sunday pay-per-views. I don't know when they make the switch, but I presume that as I go along, I have a calendar of May. Once I guess I see a difference, I presume that's when the flip was made. So I don't know how
But
far
no, they
deep.
didn't do I don't remember them doing a complete 180 on it. I feel like they did like one because remember there were times where I'd say, "Oh, this one's a Saturday show." It wasn't like they were
Right.
exclusive. They didn't all of a sudden go, "Okay, now we're on Saturdays." Because we had to remember like, "Oh, this one's a Saturday." Right?
Mhm.
And this so they phased it in for sure.
Yeah. So
Well,
yeah, no, you're
again,
right.
we'll find out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. So I'm not sure when I have to look up the dates deeper to the episodes, but for now, let's get this going. So episode 4 is queued up here on Spotify. It's of course Ringside is available wherever you get your podcast. And again, uh I think this is gonna be the last time I say this. Throughout the series, we're going to be inputting our commentary about what we're listening to, thoughts that come to our mind now, maybe different thoughts that we wish we maybe explained at the time of the recording. So if you do want to listen to a complete uninterrupted version of this episode, which how dare you, because we provide great commentary, it's
Exactly.
available wherever you get your podcasts. So let's do this. Episode 4. Here we go. And I forgot how long it takes it to...
CAA members save every day at Shell. Save
Or load your CAA number.
And do not necessarily reflect the views of...
Okay, hold on. I hope that Lex figured out this editing stuff as time goes on. I don't know who's control of that edit.
Right, because you keep getting these.
Keep getting the ads.
Getting the ads and the disclaimer off the top. Yeah.
We will need to bring Lex as a guest.
I
on
like
our show.
the disclaimer. It makes me laugh every time.
Oh, the disclaimer is a disclaimer. I'm not worried about the disclaimer. But yes, we will have Lex as a guest on our show. Even though this is his show.
When? Now? When's he coming?
Well, whenever. I don't know when he's I feature.
It's our segment. He's gonna be a guest. He might be the host of the show, but this is our segment.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, this is ours. This is our baby. Here we go.
Sauga 960 AM or its management.
It's the weekend, and you know what that means. Ringside Heat is on the air on Sauga 960 AM. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is...
Sorry, I don't want to keep cutting early. Is that the first time you used that?
Which?
It's Sunday night. You know what that means? Did I hear that in the first 3 episodes?
I think this is the first time. Yeah.
Right? And
Well,
now
there you
it
go.
became a little staple to honor.
That's his
Huber.
standard intro now.
Yeah, to honor the great John Huber, who passed away Boxing Day 2020, I believe. Yeah, it was. It was within the year as well, I believe. Yeah.
Lex Tan, and I'm your host for this hour of great wrestling talk on the airwaves. On today's show, we sit down with a Toronto-based actor whose life, craft, and career has been very much influenced by the world of professional wrestling. And the Ring Crew talks about issues that could be polarizing to the wrestling audience. All of this and more when Ringside Heat returns on Sauga 960 AM.
No radio? No problem. Stream us live on sauga960am.ca.
Polarizing.
Yeah, I'm curious where that's going to go.
Welcome back to Ringside Heat on News Talk Sauga 960 AM. I'm Lex Tan. You can always get in touch with me on my socials, on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok by tagging my handle at LexTanMedia. And you can interact with the show at Ringside_Heat and make sure you include the hashtag Ringside Heat. Also, Facebook.com/Ringside Heat. Now, since this is a show based in the Toronto area, one of the big things that Torontonians love, if you're a wrestling fan or not, is hockey. Now, Torontonians, they love hockey, and that includes loving the Toronto Maple Leafs, no matter how frustrated this fan base has been since 1967.
That has new meaning at this particular moment.
Shut up, Lex. Just shut up. Oh, my God. I hate everything so much.
Well, now listen, at the time this goes up, because we're recording this before Thursday, I mean, we don't know.
Okay. All right. Really quickly. Yes, we do tape these. This would be after Game 5, because Game 5 is Tuesday. I pray to God that the Leafs are eliminated so I can be put out of my misery and they can start some drastic change that should have been made probably in 2021. Sorry, that's enough of me. Continue with the show. Thank you.
The Maple Leafs last won the Stanley Cup. So now, let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Now, a couple of big injuries happened in both wrestling and hockey. In wrestling, The Miz suffered an injury in his match with Damian Priest at WrestleMania Backlash, tearing his ACL, and now he could be out for up to 9 months. It's the first big injury of his career. He's been doing this for a long time now, so on one end, we do feel bad that he did suffer this injury, but honestly, kudos to The Miz for being so good at his job. We here at Ringside Heat want to wish The Miz a healthy and full and complete recovery. That brings us to the other major injury to another athlete who's really good at his job, and particularly in Toronto, John Tavares, the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, suffering a concussion after a freak accident on the ice in which the knee of Montreal Canadiens player Corey Perry inadvertently connected with Tavares' head.
Oh my God, I remember that. It was bad. Oh, I remember screaming at my TV at how bad that was. That happened in Game 1. Oh, it was horrible for Tavares.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I forgot
Yeah, I
about
remember
that.
that.
What? Why Lex felt the need to tie a concussion with the torn
Yeah, I'm not
ACL?
sure where he's going with this.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but let's continue.
After Tavares was body checked to the ice by another Montreal player. That's as far as I'm going to go in describing what happened. After Tavares was stretchered off the ice and sent to hospital, gameplay resumed, and newly acquired Leaf player Nick Foligno engaged in a fight with Corey Perry as part of the player's code, or the unwritten rules in the way the players hold each other accountable and police themselves. It was an action that polarized social media. Some thought it was the correct thing to do. Some people loathed the move. And it was based on the idea and the thought that the injury, yes, it was bad, but it likely happened so fast that there couldn't have been any intent toward the action. Some of you listening could be former wrestlers and may have even taken a class or two yourselves, or like me, just a really big fan who loves to flap his gums about wrestling, but you may have heard it on multiple shows about wrestling, and even in the movie Fighting with My Family, the idea of the receipt. So let's say you potato someone, you give a stiff punch or a kick or a move or a hold, which wasn't agreed on, expected, or even just an accidental one. You'll be making up for it whether you like it or not by getting an intentional, legitimate hit. Like when Randy Orton gave an errant chair shot that ended up ripping the skin of The Undertaker's forehead down to the bridge of his nose, and Undertaker warned Orton after that SmackDown event early 2005 that his receipt was coming. And Taker cashed in his receipt at the December 2005 pay-per-view WWE Armageddon. And that's all part of the unwritten code among the wrestlers, and that goes for the men and the women alike. Every sport has its own unwritten code of conduct. It's unlikely that I'll be able to get into a ring and wrestle a match, though I would love to, as it's definitely a way I would love to get active again once this pandemic ends and we're able to gather for indoor activities. But I'm not an athlete. I've never played hockey at any sort of organized level or wrestled a wrestling match, so I don't think it's for me to say anything about how athletes police themselves. But as a fan, back in 2015, I loved seeing Jose Bautista flip his bat, and I did feel appalled when the Texas Rangers conducted themselves the way they did. When it comes to wrestling, we never know who really is due up to get a receipt, unless it's really obvious, like let's say a Daniel Puder nearly breaking Kurt Angle's arm. I'm sure Angle wanted to cash that receipt on Puder badly. Great call, by the way, by referee Jimmy Corderas to break up that match the only way that he could.
That was Jimmy in that
And
match?
when Jimmy himself was on the show a few weeks ago,
Yeah, it
forgot
was
about
it was
that.
Jimmy a part of the, well, not like the quote unquote match, but it was a tough
Whatever, the
tryout.
segment. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Jimmy.
I totally forgot
It
about
was,
that.
yeah.
he
What
made a
has
great
that
point
man
about
not
the
done?
rest.
I feel like we can't control the content of the show, but well, we can suggest, huh? But I feel like we're due for another interview with our friend of
I was
Ringside
just
Heat.
chatting with him last night over DMs. I love Jimmy. Yeah, I'd love to have him back on the show.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I think it would be because I also feel like, well, selfishly, I also feel like I never interacted enough with Jimmy compared to you and especially Lex. And I know Chico and Lex saw him in Philadelphia. So, all right, let's keep going.
Product that can be even applied to the code. The new school may say something like, oh, this is how we do it now. But we shouldn't ignore what the old school has to say. Wrestling and athletics can work very well when there is a mingling of both the new and the old. Whether there's certain sports and athletes' codes that people will continuously and endlessly debate over. If you're like me and have never been in the ring, it might be a good idea to leave it up to who knows best.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
When we come back, we'll sit down with Toronto-based actor Vincent Salvadore, and he'll share about how his life, career, and his craft have been influenced by professional wrestling when Ringside Heat returns on Newstalk Sauga 960 AM.
So I just want to help me summarize this.
Okay.
So is he saying that wrestlers somebody should have got a receipt for the Mrs. Torn ACL?
I don't remember the event, but it certainly sounds like that maybe
Right?
there Damian Priest should have been expecting something.
It felt like a freak accident. I feel like those things are freak accidents at the end of the day, right? Like you can perform all your moves and do what you got to do with your opponent, but sometimes it's just landing.
See, I don't remember the specific.
I don't either.
You said that, I'm
No,
like, I don't remember that at all.
I forgot that he had an injury, but again, like I
But
guess
then it makes sense because then I feel like I remember him being out for a really long time. or not maybe a really long time, but I remember him disappearing for a while.
Right. So interesting. Interesting outlook there. Let's see what Vincent has to
Yeah.
say.
Stream us live at sauga960am.ca.
Welcome back to Ringside Heat on News Talk Saga 960 AM. My name is Lex Tan. If you want to get in touch with me, you can contact me on my social media at Lex Tan Media, and you can get in touch with the show and interact with us at ringside_heat. Our guest today is a Toronto-based actor who studies his craft at the University of Toronto, has over 20 film and TV credits to his name, such as Fear Thy Neighbor, Disasters at Sea, Paranormal 911, and his breakout performance as a child-murdering psychopath on Discovery ID's If I Should Die. And you can follow him on his social media at Vinny Sal. Friend of the show, good friend of mine, and a big wrestling fan. His name is Vincent Salvadore. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Lex. Thanks for having me on the show.
No doubt, man. Great to have you here. And of course, we've talked about this. You and I are huge wrestling fans, and I just want to ask you, man. I just want to ask you how you got into the whole wrestling fandom.
It was probably started on Saturday mornings watching Superstars. And just wake up early morning. I never watched cartoons really. They have the Smoggies on there and whatnot, but I would always switch it to WWF or WWE Superstars, which was always what appealed to me, and I just happened to get into it when I was younger, and it just stuck with me, all through elementary school, and then finding my friends who loved it. And in fact, I remember one of my first house shows was actually in Markham, Ontario. There's an arena called Centennial Arena. So I remember who was there was Tatanka and the Smoking Guns. That I do remember. That's how far back. And so I've always, all through elementary school, all through high school, and then in university, and for a little bit, I stopped watching. But I really got back into it, and I remember when it was when The Rock came back as a special guest host of WrestleMania. And it was Monday Night Raw when they were announcing the special guest. And I remember lights went down and everything, and next thing you know, you just hear, "If you smell," and I was like, what is going on? I just happened to tune into Raw that day. I remember it because I had a wisdom tooth infection, and I just came back from a Valentine's Day dinner, and it sucked. That totally picked up my spirits.
Ringside Heat on Newstalk Saga 960. We are sitting with Vincent Salvadore. You've told me off air that you've met a whole list of wrestlers, a whole laundry list of wrestlers, man. So tell me about some of the best experiences from the wrestlers that you have met.
Well, I'll tell you this. The best experience that I've ever had was meeting the one and only, the best there is, the best there was, best ever will be, Bret the Hitman Hart, which was and is still my childhood hero. He was one of the wrestlers that I just loved. But I had the pleasure of meeting Bret Hart, and I won't forget this. It was the weekend of the Screwjob. He happened to do a house show. I think it was a Friday or Saturday, and it was at the Skydome, which is now the Rogers Center. And they had a huge, they had flyers sent out, meet and greet. And I won't forget this. This is at Keel and Finch. They had a Byway store there.
Wow.
And yeah. And I remember we went after the show. I'm like, I really want to meet him. And my mom loved Bret Hart's wrestling. My dad too as well. And I remember going to sleep. They're like, well, depending on what time you wake up, we'll go. Dude, I remember waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We drove, and we were waiting outside with like 3 or 4 other people. It was cold. I remember I was 12 years old, and we walked in, and you had to buy, I think, a Bret Hart t-shirt or something in order for him to sign it. And I went in first. My mom was behind me, and I literally gave him the shirt, and he was signing it. And I just said, Bret, you're the best there is, best for us, best ever will be. And he's like, thanks. My dad tried taking a photo, and the guy put up a shirt in front of my dad's like, no photos. My dad was like, but I just want to take a photo of my wife meeting Bret Hart. And the guy's like, no photos. And then Bret just looked up. He goes, it's all right. In a soft-spoken voice. And so my dad snapped the photo, and he signed it, and he smiled. And I remember standing off the side because I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Fast forward 20 years later, Toronto Comic-Con. Bret Hart was coming. So myself and my now wife Bianca, my mom, we went. I'm like, Mom, we're gonna meet Bret. So I remember lining up, going there. I had a Funko Pop, and I also bought an autograph. And I just told him, like, Bret, I met you 20 years ago when I was 12. Unfortunately, it was the weekend of the infamous Survivor Series. I don't want to say the screw job thing in front of him. When I met you when I was 12, I didn't know what to say. Now that I'm 20 years older, I just want to say thank you for being my hero. Thank you for doing everything for the business. You've meant a lot to not only myself, my family, as fans, but you've also done really well representing the country. And my mom was even bringing up about it. And we started telling stories about it as well. We spent a good 5 minutes just talking at the table. He's very soft spoken. You can see the tears were welling up in his eyes. We took a photo, and I took a selfie with him. And then, he, the whole hand props thing, he did that to me. And he's like, "You're a good kid, and take care of your mom." I was like, wow, shoot, man. Like, that's insane. Then there was the Q&A. I'm like, I'm going in for the Q&A. I'm going to go in for this. I'm going guns a-blazing. Went to the Q&A, and I put my hand up. He looked at me. He looked at my mom like, I remember this kid, right? He remembered, like, this the kid 20 years ago sort of thing, right? Mm-hmm. And I just asked him, I go, what advice would you give to someone who wants to chase their dreams? He went off on about doing the best that you can and just keep chasing your goals and your dreams. And no matter what, remember him saying life's for the living. If you want to be an actor, you can be an actor. If you want to be an astronaut, you can be an astronaut, but you just want to make sure you represent yourself well. That was insane. Because I'm like, wow, I got everything I need to get out of my system to ask my hero 20 years ago in one day.
News Talk Sauga 960. This is Ringside Heat, and I'm Lex Tan. I'm sitting with Vincent Salvadore, the local Toronto actor who's met a lot of wrestlers. And particularly, you told me about this experience you had with one of the current wrestlers on the WWE roster, one of the female wrestlers, and your girlfriend, now wife, was there with you seeing all of this happen. So can you tell me a little bit more about this?
Yes. So I don't want to name the event because people will then look it up and then realize who it is.
Okay.
But, let's just say we met this one female wrestler who is an amazing, in-ring performer, an amazing person, and she's gorgeous. Okay. So what happened was myself and my now wife were in line to get an autograph, and when we got there, we start talking. All three of us were talking, and she's signing everything. And I'm like, my wife's got similar, looks to this particular female wrestler. And
where is this going?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
I am a little bit.
He has my attention, but I'm very curious.
Not that we didn't have the attention before with the Bret Hart story, but
no, that was a beautiful story. But yeah, I'm very curious about this one.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going anywhere good, but I don't remember. Again, I don't remember these episodes.
Yeah, all right. Let's keep it going.
When we left the table, this female wrestler, gave me the look.
Ooh,
the look.
The look. Okay.
The look.
If you know what I mean.
If you know what I mean, she gave me the look.
Okay.
And I was like, wow. Well, this is interesting. As I was walking away, I turned on my wife. I'm like, so did you see this? She goes, yep, I saw that. All right. She gave me the look. And we were just laughing our butts off. She's actually laughing off camera right now. She's like, yep, she gave the look. And I'm like, well, that's funny because it's going to be freaking awkward. She's like, yeah, why? I'm like, because we have the photo op with her next now. We ended up going in there. We walked in. She gave me the look again.
Oh, dang.
Twice. We took the photo and we left. And I was just giving myself. I'm like, you caught it again, right? She goes, yep, I saw it.
Wow.
Now, the funny thing is, she ended up starting to date a wrestler that had very similar looks to me. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like,
whoa,
wow, that could have been me. She just gave me the dirtiest look just now off camera.
All right, time to Google who looks like Vincent Salvadore.
Yeah, it's exactly what I'm doing right now.
That's okay. All right, it's The story ended up being safe. That's a story.
I just don't think that. Well, okay. No, it's a good story, but I'm just trying to imagine. Like, I don't think I'm ever at risk for a similar experience.
Oh, bless your soul, John.
But that must have been something. I mean, I can think of some of the lovely female wrestlers, and if I ever got the look from one of them, I think I'd explode.
Right? Yeah.
I like wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not a happily married man,
Of
but
course,
that
no,
would
no, of
definitely.
course,
I'm
of
talking
course.
about before I was married.
Of course, John. Of course.
Yeah.
I'm single, so
Yeah.
that's a story, but oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if it's a local Toronto show and yeah, as soon as you see the event, either it's one person that stands out or it's a very small limited amount of
I
people. that
definitely
point
have
out.
I have one in mind that I'm thinking of, and that's a lucky dude if it was this particular one. But yeah.
Of course, we here at Ringside Heat, at least between John and I, we will discuss this off camera to respect Vincent Salvadore's story.
Oh, 100%.
Na, you can't get this. So back back to the show.
I'm like, that could have been me.
Dang. You could have had a straight direct line into the WWE or any wrestling promotion if something else happened. But things worked out the way it is, and I'm sure you're a happier and better man for it.
Oh, hell yeah. Of course. I love my wife.
Gotta make sure everybody knows Vincent Salvadore loves his wife. We're going to take a break here on News Talk Sauga 960 Ringside Heat. Coming back with more with Vinny Salvadore when we return.
No radio? No problem. Stream us live on sauga960am.ca.
Sundays at 9 and Tuesdays at 7. It's catchy.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Welcome
I
back
did
to
miss
Ringside
it.
Heat on News
Yeah,
Talk
me
Sauga
too.
960. Lex Tan here with local Toronto actor Vincent Salvadore. And Vince, you saw WWE Backlash on Sunday, correct? And you,
Yep.
yeah, and you saw what kind of happened with the Miz and Damian Priest, and unfortunately, the Miz got injured. We heard the news earlier this week. Hope he was okay. One thing Jimmy Corderas did say is that he didn't like how Damian Priest should have been put over by the Miz, but then Damian Priest and the Miz ended up putting over a movie instead, and he didn't really like that.
Yeah, it seems like, gosh, like, first of all, I was at a loss for words. Literally, when I saw that match, I was literally thinking, I don't know what was worse, that or when WCW did the promo with RoboCop. Do you remember that? I'm like, what is going? Was it?
Do you remember that promo from Raw?
Oh yeah.
Was I will say that.
Well, no, I should say I didn't watch. I didn't watch AEW or WCW.
Right.
Slip. But I didn't watch WCW, but I remember that happening.
Interesting. No, I mean, I haven't seen another, but it sounds bad on paper anyway. So
It was
I can
very
only
bad.
imagine how it delivered.
You can stretch, suspension of disbelief to a point, but RoboCop coming in for the save or whatever they did there, however they did that was, that was a bad idea.
RoboCop?
Well, I mean, like, hey, the Toronto Raptors had RoboCop on their debut. WCW probably had to do it too.
I don't know, but when I was watching the match, I'm like, okay, first of all, I understand that it's all about business, and you're doing promotions. Now, when you're promoting a movie and it's joint with wrestling, or any promoting that is a joint venture with a WWE pay-per-view, I understand you tie a promo to that. That's cool. That's fine. But to actually put over a movie and have zombies as lumberjacks, it literally turned me right off. Because you're supposed to be putting over Damian Priest, but instead you have two athletes putting over a movie, and it just came up as really cheap. Unfortunately, it was just a shameless plug, even to the point where Damian Priest did his Archer thing and it launched it up into the screen. It said Army of the Dead. I'm like, are you serious right now? But what I did find hilarious, though, the positive side of it was because lumberjacks, you're supposed to throw you in once you get out of the ring. Those zombie lumberjacks are trying to grab their legs while the match is going on in the ring.
That's
You
right.
noticed that?
That's right.
They're trying to grab them. I'm like, that is funny. That's hilarious. Then it went downhill. So I tried to see the positive side of it. But it went downhill after that. I'm like, because that's the point. I'm like, they're fighting the zombies together. I'm like, ooh, great. And there goes Morrison behind the guardrail. And now they're hovering over like the Miz as if they're smelling him for meat.
News Talk Saga 960 here, Ringside Heat. I'm Lex Tan. We're sitting with Vincent Salvadore. You wanted to talk about how acting and wrestling are so intertwined and essential to one another.
They are, for one, with wrestling, it's sports entertainment, as WWE says it. But
I'll say this. I forgot they were promoting a movie, which only makes sense,
So
right?
so did I. That's what I was.
That was a smart move on Lex's part, bringing an actor in as a tie-in with an event that was linked to a movie promotion, because it gives us that perspective.
Really cool. And so far, I feel
I
like
don't know how I never noticed that before.
neither did I. But I also think that this is Lex's more enjoyable interview. It sounds like he's more into this one compared to the first two. Not that he wasn't with the first two.
I think he's just gotten more comfortable.
He's
right?
getting
Like,
more
I think
comfortable,
he's
and it helps that he obviously knows Vincent really, really, really well.
Yeah, he
So,
doesn't.
and it feels like he knows him more than Azim, which again I could be wrong. I don't know Lex's friendship.
Lex, listening to Lex do this interview is what it feels like, having a conversation with Lex.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Like
it's flowing more.
This is a very familiar Lex to us.
Yeah, very much so.
It's great. It's his best one yet, for sure.
Athletes, they're given a gimmick or a character, whatever it is. So with acting, it's the same. You're given a character, given a role to play. And I draw a lot of my performance as an actor. It ties in heavily, believe it or not, with that, with wrestling. A lot of attitude or a lot of my actions or emotions based off of, wrestling characters I've seen, whatever it is. I could be from giving somebody a death stare, right? Be looking someone like dead in the eye, dead stare, and channeling that maybe from Kane as a character when he had the mask off, or being a fun, charismatic character, and I would channel Eddie Guerrero for that. So I take a lot of wrestlers that I know and that I'm familiar with and channel them into an audition or a character that I do play, just because it's something that I'm familiar with. I would take a wrestler and almost put them in that situation that I'm in if I'm drawing from it. So in this case, if it is a Latin character and they got to be all suave and whatnot, I'll channel Eddie Guerrero for that. Or if it's a boss who's just wanting to ruin your entire day, whatever it is, I may channel McMahon from the Attitude Era, or even Triple H when he had the Authority.
Interesting.
If I want to play, a very snake-like character, whatever it is, I may channel Randy Orton, or when Seth Rollins was in the Authority, when he turned on the Shield. And I draw a lot of my performance as an actor. It ties in heavily, believe it or not, with that, with wrestling, and in terms of gimmick, because with the character I'm playing, it's like the persona or gimmick that you see on TV or whatever it is, and just knowing when to turn it on and off is one of the most important things as well, and that's what helps with my persona as an actor or as a character, knowing to turn it on and off. With a lot of actors, which I respect their craft and their process in regards to, being a method actor. But also you got to learn that sometimes you need to turn it off.
And if you were to step into the ring, like let's say, for instance, actors like Joseph Lee Anderson, who plays Rocky Johnson in Young Rock, and even Britt Baron from Netflix's Glow, one of my favorite actresses. She's also the voice of Tifa Lockhart from Final Fantasy VII Remake. So hey.
Hey.
And she had to do and she was also trained to do wrestling scenes by Chavo Guerrero Jr. and just the same as Joseph Lee Anderson. Now, if you had the chance to be in a role of in a wrestling type role, and you get the chance to be trained by Chavo Guerrero Jr., what would your wrestling persona be?
Definitely something along the lines of Eddie Guerrero meets The Rock meets like Triple H the Authority.
Oh, that's a
You know,
lot.
if I
Yeah.
intertwined those three, it would be that because, and I would heavily like for it to be a heel character for sure, because heels face it have more fun,
Yes.
but also teeter between being over as well as a heel. Like when Eddie Guerrero, where you can flat out see he's cheating, but everyone loves it. Basically being a villain that's over is my role. My dream role, if I had to play a wrestler, that's what it would be.
Well, I'm glad that you're just playing heel, but you're a face right now here in this conversation. And so,
Or am I?
Ooh, that's a good point. And a couple of weeks ago, when Jimmy Corderas was on the show, he did remember a lesson that Mick Foley taught him: plug what you want to plug when you're on the show. So, is there anything that you want to plug just before we go?
CAA members save every day at Shell. Save on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Mother's Day.
Why?
What, the CAA? Oh, I don't know. Yeah. It jumps right in there, eh? She's wonderful, the girl doing it, but it's
Labor Day, National
CAA member at Shell.
And three of my friends.
There we go.
Done yet?
National Fritters Day, New Year's Day, my birthday.
Well, yeah, there's a show on YouTube called Film and Foolery, which I'm a part of. And what it is, it's myself and three of my friends who are all actors. And we just discuss everything about film and just the foolery that begins and ensues. And we talk about everything, even to the point as obviously actors, certain things we notice on set. Like, for example, do you take extra food from Kraft after the shoot to take home? Certain things like that, or what sort of conversations have you heard over the mic, or certain things you've noticed, or certain fun things as an actor that we do experience, but also more so related to film and TV. And it's just a very fun YouTube show. We went on hiatus for a bit because the pandemic hit, but now we're back. So yeah, you could definitely check us out on YouTube at Film and Foolery, or on Instagram at Film and Foolery as well, and on Facebook. So yeah, definitely. You can also check out my content as well on Facebook, The Real Vinny Sal, as well on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok as at Vinny Sal. So looking forward to meeting all of you and talking to some of you. Feel free to send me any messages. And Lex, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. It's been a while, so hopefully I can come back and we can talk some more.
And that was Toronto-based actor Vincent Salvadore. When we come back, roundtable time with the Ring Crew when Ringside Heat returns on News Talk Sauga 960 AM.
So I'm a fan of that, and I feel like that, like, this is why ironically, a lot of people love to call wrestling fake, because of the characters that they're putting or the acting, per se. But acting's so important to make it work. I'm a fan of that.
I would be willing to. Yeah, no, I think it's brilliant. I'd be willing to bet he is far from the only one who would do something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like, we all know wrestling has a lot of fans, but the great thing about wrestling characters is not that you can't do this, but I say on the whole, and more often than not, you get very, very strong archetypes of characters. There's not a ton of nuance, right? Like there's room to play in there for sure. So if you're gonna go for, you want to look mean, you want to look evil, okay, Undertaker, Kane, it's just all there, and it's extremely amplified. You know what I mean? Like there's no guesswork there.
I think my only concern is that I think it's great to channel into them, because yes, they set such high examples, but you also don't want to completely replicate them as well, or mimic them.
No, and I think
the foundation's there, which is awesome.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
that would
nobody's
be
gonna
my
go turn
concern.
it into an impersonation of them, but, like, if you're
That's what I'm looking for.
the
Yes,
feeling you
impersonation.
get when you see these guys, you're gonna try and convey that.
Yeah.
But my point being is you couldn't look to more perfectly composed characters of their type to draw on. It's actually probably a great resource for actors. And it's
Sure.
funny because we tend to think about how wrestlers got to look at actors, but we forget that there's probably a lot of actors looking at those guys because of just how, you know, in your face these characters are and how you know what I'm saying? It's like it's a neat flip on that really flipped the script. I'm always thinking of as a fan, I'm always wondering about how the wrestler is approaching it and do they study, and you hear about them going to acting classes and blah blah blah. We never
I
think of the fact that they're being studied.
I do remember there was a story about apparently Natalia doing acting classes, which no disrespect. I hope so. But I feel like it's I mean, look at NXT, right? What's one of the things? What's one of the classes that you do? Promo class, which can go hand in hand with that acting character work because you gotta
Yeah.
sell what you're saying. You gotta convince people that you believe what you're saying, and that goes hand in hand with acting.
Yeah, and it didn't I think Cody said something to the effect that Dusty called it communications, and I have no idea what the syllabus for that course would be, but I would be surprised if there weren't some kind of garden variety basic drama class
Yeah,
acting things in there, right? Like it
yeah,
would it's a pretty easy connection to make.
right,
But
right,
that's
right.
neat. Hearing it just
I'm a
hearing it
fan of that.
from yeah, I like that a lot. That's good,
I
man.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that interview, and I don't think we've had Vincent since.
No, we haven't. You know what? He'd be a really good, neat guy to talk to. Geez, we should have thought of this because of all the character work done in the bloodline. It would be great to have an actor
Yeah,
looking at, how some of that was handled. It'd be great
and
to even get him on one of the waybacks.
yeah, and where we are now as well with
Yeah.
characters and everything. We need to talk to Lex, but because I
Yeah.
think
She definitely needs to get back on here. I'd like to.
I think that's a brilliant idea.
Mhm.
So yes, and one last thing, before we continue with the episode, Eddie, The Rock, and Triple H.
Yeah.
That's a combo I don't know works. I love the idea of it. I'm curious how that would play
Yeah,
out.
that's quite a hydra.
That yes, Hydra. That's a great word to use it because like you have the Rock's charisma.
Presumably.
You have
Trip
Eddie Guerrero's wit.
suave, maybe sneakiness.
I go for sneaky. Then Triple H with that
Just
au-
in your face, intense, a
authoritative.
sledgehammer, intense,
Yeah, it's
cerebral assassin idea.
a cerebral assassin that lies and cheats and steals for the millions and millions. Got it.
Yeah, the Robin Hood, calculated Robin Hood. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're getting close to a wrestling Voltron here. I kind of like it. It's yeah.
Like something like that. Let's keep
Add in some technical refinement. We could be building the perfect wrestler here.
Oh my god. Oh, that's a great real idea.
Think
Here's
about
perfect
it. Bring in
wrestler. Oh, I
the
got okay.
perfect wrestler. Oh, that's a good one.
I'm gonna write that down.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Keep an eye out for it.
Yep. I'll release that reel later. That reel later in the week. All right. Let's keep it going with the ring crew. Here we go.
No radio? No problem. Stream us live on saga960am.ca.
Welcome back to Ringside Heat on News Talk Saga 960 AM. I'm your host, Lex Tan, and we've got the ring crew in for our roundtable discussion. Let's introduce them to you. From the Under the Middle Rope podcast, we've got Jose. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you, buddy?
I am good. Great week.
Can't help but notice you
lots
off to
talk
get the
about as
first
well.
introduction.
And our
You must be at the top of his
I
screen.
always was. Well, to be fair, I think the only reason why is because, and we're still using this is my old streamer. I just transferred the ownership to Lex. So anytime that I logged in first, technically I'm at the first position, like how we are now. And so when Lex comes in, I just flip us. And so was it by design? I'm not going to
Probably.
confirm.
Yeah. Or did
Is
I?
it wrong? No. Is it
Not making an ethical judgment. It's simply an observation
okay?
that you
Okay.
tend to get the first introduction there.
I'm
But
just
were we on StreamYard yet, or was this still Zoom?
Damn it, you may be right then, and maybe I'm just that special. I have no idea when we switch to Zoom.
Sure.
I have
Let's go with
no idea.
A resident
Not too bad.
musician and theme song
Hey,
composer
I'm up
John
to second
Dawson. How
place.
you?
Always nice to be here.
Oh my god.
And we've got our
Okay, it's episode 4.
Always
You
nice.
were peppy and pumped in 1.
Yeah.
Did it really take 4 episodes?
To just drain the life out of me. Yeah. So by episode, I'm sounding very grumpy coming in here. I wonder what happened.
Well, I guess look in your Google timeline or something. The weekend of May 21st. Who pissed me off? Guys, okay, before we go, I don't want that narrative. John is a lovely man, and I got to see the beautiful side of John in Philadelphia, and I will treasure that for the rest of
Oh,
my
thank
day.
you.
So
I think I'm a beautiful man too, but I
exactly.
definitely can get grumpy.
What we're trying to say is that Lex brings us all down. Let's keep it going.
graphic designer and Twitch streamer at Risen72, Mr. Colin Dodge. How are you doing from Nova Scotia, man?
Doing pretty good, Lex. How are you doing?
Things are doing just fine. Great time to be alive right now. And also
Wow.
other Twitch streamer here, we've got at MKD_CE04, MKD, Mr. Mark Farinas. How you?
How you doing, man? How's it going?
Things have been great. I am just happy to be here to talk wrestling with you guys. And you know what? One of the things I do want to talk about for sure, what happened on Sunday at WrestleMania Backlash. As we were talking about with our guest Vincent Salvadore earlier, we were talking a little bit about how the match between Damian Priest versus The Miz, and how that was a little bit of the wrestling industry putting over the film industry, and with the zombies and different and what happened in that match. So it was a very polarizing thing, to say the least. I want to hear your thoughts
This
on
was the
what
aforementioned
this means for the industry and what you thought of it as well. Johnny.
Okay, I'm gonna risk my my reputation a little bit by saying I had moments where I kind of enjoyed it. I have two sons, both under 10, and they enjoyed the zombies eating the Miz. Now, as a standalone gimmick, I understand there are booking issues around this that everybody's got issues with, but we've seen a lot crazier in WWE. This is wrestling. Crazy things happen, and sometimes things that make kids go, "Oh my, zombies, they're eating the Miz." That's not a bad thing. And I think there needs to be maybe just are we taking it too seriously sometimes? And again, I'm sorry, I understand there are other issues, but in and of itself, a zombie lumberjack match, could be kind of hilarious in some ways. But maybe this wasn't the time. But that's my thought on that.
Well, I think just before I move on with my thoughts, I think it is, I do respect, and I think John's point does need to be acknowledged in terms of, from his perspective, having two kids under 10 years old. And when it comes to that perspective in terms of the entertainment, yes, I think it does work. And yes, WWE tends to be aimed for younger audiences in today's day and age compared to what we as adults were used to in the late 90s. The perspective that I want to focus on the most on in terms of frustration was just why it happened in the first place. I mean, for the most part, everything has some sort of build. I know WWE has a habit as of late to not have the best of builds for stuff and all of a sudden somehow pull off decently good stuff. But this just felt so out of place for The Miz and for Damian Priest. And like, okay, a lumberjack match. Okay, we're expecting the roster to come out ringside and just deal with that, and just all of a sudden just promote a movie. It's this, and then to go on top of that, which is the frustration of like just having it come out of nowhere, and just having us involved in a match. My main like sadness, I guess you should say, or frustration, is the fact that Damian Priest has now been involved in back-to-back pay-per-views where you hope that he gets, like, he technically goes over, but he's not the main focus as we hope. I mean, at WrestleMania, it was Bad Bunny. We're all still talking about Bad Bunny. Now at WrestleMania Backlash, the month after, we're talking about the zombies. Damian Priest got the wins. He went over against against the Miz, who has been used in these jobber roles. But the fact that Damian Priest just gets thrown into these matches, it's frustrating. It happens at almost every NXT call up. And I just wish there was something better for Damian Priest instead of having him as a second topic in what should be a more predominantly conversation about, hey, Damian Priest is getting good reps and wins. Let's see where that goes.
Oh, Jose, if only you knew what was coming.
Really.
3 years. It took a while.
It took a very long while.
But we got there, and now we're at his. I hope it's not his peak because I know there's still so much more to go for him. But
I don't think anybody would have doubted it. I mean, Damian Priest is always one of those guys that you've just kind of like, yeah, for sure. At somehow, some way, this guy's going to be on top.
And we saw the crowning moment in person, which was amazing.
A WrestleMania cash-in, second in history, right?
So, just fortunate to see all of that. But yeah, I'm happy that my frustration, at least from that perspective, I'm happy that it got resolved eventually. It took a while, but it got there. So I'm relieved at that.
I agree.
Ringside Heat on News Talk Sauga 960 AM. We're talking about the zombie angle between Damian Priest and The Miz from WrestleMania Backlash. Now, Mark, you wanted to add something on to what Jose was saying.
Yes, actually, what Jose was saying, actually what John is saying. Now, John, I know you got a couple of kids, and they were pretty entertained about the zombies. But as a fan, as a wrestling fan, if I was watching that in the stands, I would have begun, okay, I'll take the washroom break, or I'll see you in the stands, or just wake me up till Cesaro Roman would be coming up.
I know
At first, I really thought this was.
I didn't pick up on it at the time, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I disagree fundamentally with his dichotomy where there's someone like me and a fan. There's kids and a fan. I'm not sure what he means by fan.
Yeah,
that's a very unfortunate.
That irks me. It's like okay, let me disregard you. Let me focus on me. Well,
or it's like, yeah, you're with the kids, but if you were smarter, I don't know. I did I'm not that one. I'm not feeling that one.
Yeah, that's
Anyways, we don't want to disparage.
Yeah, I have my thoughts, but
no one's here to defend themselves. But
yep.
The commercial. Okay, I thought this was Army of the Dead was the movie, and Dave Bautista was promoting the movie, former WWE superstar. It just didn't seem right to me to have this kind of angle in the middle of pay-per-view. I mean, like, okay, they got the zombies out there for the lumberjack match, and they're like, okay, I'm done. Like, I think I've seen enough here. I mean, what more are they trying to promote here? I mean, I thought Dave Bautista was going to come out to the ring. I think he was going to save everybody else out there. Yada, yada, yada. Didn't they do this before with KFC when they had Dolph Ziggler and The Miz? Didn't they do that?
See, they did, but that was just strictly commercial. It wasn't involved. There were
but I mean,
involved.
Yeah,
right. But it wasn't as involved in the match as this was. Like, it was just like a something for the fans after a SmackDown tape.
Please.
You have HBK come out as Colonel Sanders. It was a fun little thing for the crowd, and then they promote KFC. But it wasn't directly involved for a pay-per-view like this was. Yeah. Those are two. I understand. I know people were comparing that, but they're two very different scenarios and two very different circumstances.
You gotta look at it though, like Jose. They were promoting it before the match too, when Miz and Morrison were backstage, and then they ran to Army of the Dead, and then so on and so forth, and then now it leads up to this match. I mean, I get it. I get it, what you meant. Damian Priest has been in the main card for since WrestleMania now. I mean, is this really the time to have him get this big push? Well, I mean, it's very unfortunate for Miz. He got the ACL injury, and now Damian Priest is now going up. So I don't know where this goes, but I really hope they don't do this gimmick ever again.
Ringside Heat on News Talk Sauga 960. I want to hear something from Colin. Colin, you have something to say as well about Damian Priest and The Miz and the zombies.
Yeah, I myself, I had the initial outrage where, this is insane. Why is this happening in the middle of the card? This should have been on kickoff. I didn't go as far as thinking it's set wrestling back 30 years or anything like that, but taking Johnny's point, of course, he's got young kids. I get there's an audience for this. I'm not part of that audience. I wasn't part of the Bad Bunny audience either, but I respected what that was. And, I enjoyed how well actually Bad Bunny did do. But to me, the point of the match is to elevate the wrestlers, not a commercial. I understand product placement, but to me, this should have at least, or at most, been like the taped Colonel Sanders spots, and either put this on kickoff, put this at the top of the show, maybe after the first match, just run the video in between, as a cooler between a hot match before the main event, something like that. But to be an actual match, Damian Priest didn't benefit. The Miz certainly didn't benefit because now unfortunately, he's on the shelf. The wrestlers were not elevated. That's what live wrestling matches are supposed to do.
I just forgot here. I lost my touch here. Halloween is in October, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just putting it out there. This is May.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
May is springtime and rebirth, not necessarily undead. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I wonder, like, even if this was in October, like, I would not be surprised that, like, I feel like we'd still get the same reaction in terms of, like, why the heck is this happening? Why is this product placement happening? Like, sure, yeah, Halloween, it makes sense. But I would not be surprised that if this did happen in October, at the October pay-per-view, whatever it is now, since it's been moved, I'm sure people would still say this isn't right.
One thing that I will say is I'm not a dad myself, but honestly, I would, to go with your point, John, I think I would rather have my kids see zombies eating The Miz rather than seeing Randy Orton burning Bray Wyatt alive on one end. So that's one thing. But I do get the idea as well. I also do really understand that this is a time to elevate the wrestlers. And unfortunately, Damian Priest, who should have been elevated twice, WrestleMania and WrestleMania Backlash, did not get the elevation that he does deserve, especially with all the great work that he's been doing in the past with NXT. And John, you have one last word.
Again, it's just, and I agree with, I love the, yes, with the booking thing, but the suspension of disbelief was pushed pretty far. But I love someone on Twitter was complaining that, they were watching Miz and Morrison react to fake zombies. And it was like, as opposed to real ones, was one of the responses. Like, they're zombies. Of course they're fake. This is going to be ridiculous. I think, I think everybody just got a little too hot over this. Is my bottom.
I mean, my eyes were rolling the whole entire segment of that. I'm like, on next segment, please. Like, yeah.
And speaking of the next segment, we're going to have to take the break here, and we will be back with more Ringside Heat on Newstalk Sauga 960 AM. Don't you dare miss it.
That's our first, like, kind of little.
Hold on one second. Okay. Sorry, buddy.
That's our first little bounce back between ring crew members. Like a tiny little debate. Well, it kind of felt 5-on-1, to be honest.
Yeah, it wasn't much of a debate. It was one person saying something and 4 people disagreeing. But
yeah, and kind of as well, kind of like respecting and acknowledging the reason why you reacted to the way they did to that match, right? Like, we didn't want to shoot it down and kind of think about us. That's what I'm saying. You had people that defended you, which is great, because I think I felt like maybe with Mark that point was missed, which again is understandable. Everybody has their own fandoms, but I wouldn't have. I'm happy that myself, Colin, and Lex, we didn't really shoot you down completely because of it.
No, because it's a position that you can't really shoot down because. And
it's a position that we don't know. We're not there.
Yeah, it's simply just a different position. And but it does, this is a time here, and this is only a few years ago, but everything's still the AEW shine of the hyper real wrestling versus performance, like
the alternative.
Alternative. I feel like that was a bit more concentrated right around here, and the feeling that, oh, this is too silly. This is still the same company that had Liberace as a timekeeper. I mean, you take WWE so seriously.
Yeah, and again, like the movie had Dave Bautista. It had Batista as the lead actor. I mean,
yeah,
it's the connection's gonna be there. And again, like when I reviewed every WrestleMania, when I used to write that up and reviewed every WrestleMania, that was such a key point in WWE. The entertainment aspect of it, Liberace, Muhammad Ali, Aretha Franklin, like WrestleMania 11 had like a whole bunch of like people like Jonathan Taylor Thomas, however you say the kid's name, Salt and Pepper, Lawrence Taylor. Like this is what WWE is, that cross mix with pop culture. So it's not a complete shock. I know we're tired of it, but it's not a complete like blind side of like, why is this happening? You know what I mean? So
well, I think it's I do understand that why those guys, why in the match. Sure, were there other ways that could have been done? 100%. I'm reasonably certain this wouldn't have been a Triple H decision.
Oh, no, not without a doubt.
No, like, I don't think he was even in the mix at this point. I mean, like, he wouldn't do this.
No, he's still NXT. He's still
NXT at this point.
I think,
or maybe moving over a little bit. I don't know, but it's not very
either. Yeah, but
it's not very public. Whatever he's doing, we don't know a lot yet. But certainly not. We're still some time away from where we are now, so we know where this is coming from, right? And again, that guy did some crazy stuff.
11 minutes left in the pod of episode 4. Let's finish this up.
Stream us live at sauga960am.ca.
Welcome back to Ringside Heat on News Talk Sauga 960 AM. I'm Lex, and it's part 2 with the ring crew, Jose, John, Colin, and Mark. And big news just released yesterday from the WWE. They are going to be doing events with live audiences starting on July the 16th in Houston, Texas for SmackDown, Fort Worth on the 18th for Money in the Bank, and Dallas, Texas on the 19th for Monday Night Raw and most likely going to be at full capacity. Now, it's been something that we've been waiting for a long time, and I'm sure the WWE and the fans have been waiting for a long time. What do you guys think of it opening up at this point in the pandemic in July for you guys? What do you think?
It's a relief. It's great to hear that it's going to happen again. I mean, I know the States are in a much better situation than us here in Canada when it comes to vaccinations and all that stuff. But it's relief. I mean, I think it's safe to say that the Thunderdome has had its run, or has run its course, I should say. I mean, it was great, but I know personally I'm tired of the piped in noises. And WrestleMania just felt like a little bit of a tease with the fans. There was such a great environment to hear everybody screaming and getting all excited again, especially being at WrestleMania. So it's great. I'm happy that they're going to be coming back. Of course, I do hope that it's in a safe environment and everybody's safe and understands the risks when it comes to attending these events, because I presume at least in Texas is going to be full capacity in their arenas for these events. But it's going to be a welcoming environment, one that the entire world has been waiting to see since March 2020, and I'm ready to see what's going to happen in July.
Yeah, I just want to add on to Jose's point, since we live north of the border. I mean, it's great that WWE is finally bringing back fans here. Just like last week in AEW, that they're finally doing live shows and they're back on the road again. I think WWE is taking the necessary precautions for what they've been doing. I think they're just taking baby steps right now going into the state of Texas to get these 3 shows. It'll be great. You're right. Just Jose said, like, the Thunderdome did run its course. I'm just done with these plexiglass fans that you see everywhere around the arena. Just be interactive. I know that there's like background noises for whenever wrestlers come out or whatever, and like there's boos and cheers. But you know what? It's kind of getting old to me. I just miss like the roar of these fans. Get to see live action on television. So it's great to see WWE finally take this step forward.
Ringside Heat and Sauga 960 AM. Colin, what did you want to add to this conversation?
I mean, I know the live tours are the bread and butter for just WWE themselves, but of course all the independent contractors that work there. And it's, you know, something the fans need, something to go out and see live, and it's a great show to do. I just know I'm not in Ontario now, but, you know, things open up for a little bit, the numbers explode, go back down into a lockdown, that kind of thing. That's happened a couple times here in Nova Scotia as well. Mm-hmm. And I just have that initial worry where that congregation of that many people, you know, the numbers going up again, which would be terrible. But yeah, I want it to happen. I want it to work, and I want everybody to stay safe. U.S. states, the rest of the world, you know. I hope it goes well.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in, and I mean, how could you not be excited about this, right? WWE coming back live. They've been these troopers all along, and I don't know if everybody always appreciated what they were doing, but I don't think they ever shut down. I mean, they went to the empty arenas almost instantaneously. They changed the model of WrestleMania. Thunderdome, of course, happened. So it doesn't surprise me that they seem to be kind of one of the first ones to do this. Texas is smart. I think that makes sense. Yeah, you worry about the congregate settings like that. You know, I know I heard of at least one fan coming out positive after Mania, and when I heard that, I was like, oh no, if that gets labeled super spreader, it's over. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you still feel like you're on a bit of a
super spreader
whole thing. It's like
terms we don't use in 2024.
Yeah, we don't say those anymore. No, I'll share my thoughts after this because we're close to the end. Yeah, there's a lot.
Shows results in something, you know, there goes the whole tour. So are they going to look for vaccine IDs coming in? Like, I don't know how they're going to manage it. I mean, maybe people they may be able to cross-reference with vaccines and ticket purchases. I mean, all of those raise interesting questions in and of themselves, but I'm curious to know if they've got some way of managing that, because they're doing full shows. If like, this isn't like half full, right? Like they're full up.
Well, I mean, originally Texas was one of the first states to allow 100% capacity of everything. I mean, you saw the Texas Rangers against the Blue Jays at their home opener or their season. I think their home opener.
The home opener.
Yes. It was a full crowd. It was a large crowd. I mean, I know a lot of people on this side of the border were looking at it with a little bit of anxiety again because of the worry about the congregate and the worry of cases. I don't know what the results were from there, but yeah, like I can totally see why WWE picked Texas first, because I think they're only the only. I don't know if they're the only state that went full throttle and said, you know, just go straight to 100. I know some other states, and I know us here are going little by little with opening and
Florida. Florida
did.
Florida's another one.
I knew there was one more in there, so I get it. I don't see why not. If Texas gave them the go ahead, so I can totally see WWE's ambition to try to gain back what they lost in this last year or so.
And speaking of gaining back what the WWE has lost, and Jose, you've told us that off the air that you do hold some stock in WWE. Yes. And so you.
Sorry, I was muted. God damn, I forgot about that.
You still have it?
No, I sold it, I think, not too long after that.
Yeah, you probably should hang on to that.
I don't want to look at the stock price to know if it was a smart choice or not.
I don't think it was a smart choice.
Yeah, probably not.
Really spread the information out, but can you give us a sense of how much, if in terms of the financial perspective for the WWE, how much they would gain back doing live shows with audience members?
From the numbers that I saw, because thank you for bringing that up. It's an excellent point. I mean, I know they were losing a lot of revenue in the live shows and merchandising at live shows, and like again, a lot of their losses came from those two main things, right? Like merchandising or just live in general. And again, like in the million, it is like a lot in the millions. But if I had to get like a percentage instead, you're looking at easily above over 80 in a lot of those areas.
Wow.
Over 80% of losses. And again, ticket sales, live revenue, merchandising, all that stuff. And of course, obviously, all the arenas were affected as well across the world. So WWE would be gaining a significant amount back. And I'm just reading here actually, because I mean, obviously after July, we got to look at SummerSlam. And I just read that we were talking off air, like, you know, the rumor of where SummerSlam would be, and we heard Las Vegas, and apparently per our wonderful everybody's favorite journalist Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer newsletter had just said that apparently that August 22nd is the targeted date for SummerSlam. Got everybody riled up there, huh? And they're saying that it is Allegiant Stadium that they're looking at, which is the home of the Las Vegas Raiders. And this is, I mean, when for those that don't know sports too well, Allegiant Stadium is a WrestleMania size stadium. That is the definition. 60,000 at least to go inside. And of course, they're going to be inflating that number a little bit. But again, a stadium that big alone, you would gain a lot of financial stuff back. And SummerSlam is a Big Four pay-per-view. And there were talks even years past of having SummerSlam in a stadium that big again, like they did in 92 at Wembley Stadium in the United Kingdom. So if that happens, and I expect them to be ambitious because of what they lost in the last year.
You know what they say in the Raider Nation from former owner Al Davis, just win, baby. They're probably just trying to win this one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I'm sure there's going to be 60,000 fans, or at least that many people interested in going to go back to shows, but that is definitely a big ambition for WWE.
Definitely big plans and big numbers that they want to give out as well. And you can see that it works. It's that like the format that NXT has, having some people actually cheering on or booing the wrestlers in the ring there, it really does provide a big boost. And you saw it at WrestleMania as well. So it's something that we're definitely looking forward to in the next coming weeks and months as the pandemic begins, as we begin to open up the world after this pandemic begins to start to ebb and flow away. But at this time is not our friend, and we will have to talk again next week. I want to thank the Ring Crew for showing up again and doing the show here today. Thank you, Jose, John, Colin, and Mark. And, talk to you guys again next week.
Sounds good, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Just win, baby.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Lex.
That's right. And hopefully the Toronto Maple Leafs just win as well. But
all right, that's the end of that one. First of all, I this is what I'm like. This is why I like going back in time here, because it was. I still muted. I'm not muted. It was a scary time. I'm not gonna sit here and say I never ever will be that person that looks back and say, "Oh, it wasn't a big deal at the end of the day. Oh, it wasn't like something to worry about completely." The fear that I had the day that the United States shut all their borders and grounded all their flights, the day that it was announced as a pandemic, the day that we were told to start working from home, that fear that week will never ever escape me.
It was no, man. There's no, excuse me, obviously benefit hindsight. We know how it all turned out, and
of course. So
at the end of the day, but I remember washing groceries on my front porch. Like that's how crazy
we were doing this. We were doing the same thing. I mean, it's my point is, it's I never want to escape that feeling, but obviously to be here today, past it, grown for I don't know about learn from it, but grown past it. It's a feeling that I know that I thought. And I'm sure the rest of the world thought that we would never feel again, worried that we would never feel that again, and hoping to eventually get to that point, to get to this point. It's something
where
that
you're
I'm
taking it for granted again.
Yeah, definitely not. And to be honest, it took us a long time to properly and finally give each other a hug and shake hands and finally meet in person. Because again, I met John through Zoom. And the first time
it was 38, WrestleMania 38.
When we nearly a year later since the start of Ringside Heat is when we finally got together and said, "Hey, let's finally meet up." And if everybody's comfortable, I remember you asking us as well if we were vaccinated to check to be tested as well. And
that's hilarious.
And again, I was 100% willing because I'm like, I want to meet up with you guys. And
It was it was legitimately it was scary. I mean, when you're keeping people like, family members would come to the door and you wouldn't be opening it, be talking to it or whatever. It was just like it's just crazy town, and I remember being, I know this is not to go too far back into this, but I like when because as a teacher, of course, we were one of the first ones to get, we were pivoted very quickly.
Of course.
We weren't even teaching online. It was just throw stuff up in a Google Classroom or somewhere and see what
Yeah.
happens. It would be several months before we got to the Google Classroom model or Zoom models. But I was like, I think I was working on the almost a 24-hour cycle of just like watching different news. They had like 3 different news sources on, and I'd sort of nap at different times. Like I was just living 24
Yeah.
hours because I was like, what's going to happen? What's the new thing? When do we find out that, like, there's so many unknowns.
The
And
biggest
yeah,
the
go ahead.
biggest
Sorry.
line out of all that in the first week, we're only going to be home for 2 weeks.
Right.
It was the line of the pandemic to start
Just
us
gonna
off.
close for 2 weeks. Flatten the
Just
curve. It was flatten the curve.
to
Right?
flatten the curve, and it took way longer than 2 weeks.
But
And
where I think my love of WWE doubled was when there they were in the empty arena, and I could watch Raw, and it was weird. It was echoey, and you'd hear weird noises that you wouldn't hear. But there they were putting on a show, and I thought, God, thank God for WWE at that moment. That it was
yeah,
just like it was such a courageous thing for them to do, and such a we were having something new, something live, something fresh, not just a bunch of these like SNL doing the Zoom shows from home. Everything was just so weird. Like, people with bedhead doing talk shows. It was just such a bizarre thing. There's WWE putting on the best show they can under the circumstances.
I remember getting emotional when WrestleMania 36 started.
Yeah.
I mean, now mind you, I get emotional with WrestleMania anyways. I mean, I think
Sure.
you and Glenn, I think Glennis saw me, and David made fun of me. My buddy David made me funny because I got emotional entering Lincoln Financial Stadium because, again, it's my favorite event of the year and my dream comes true again, right? So I get emotional with this event all the time. But with that one, especially because it was 2 nights, but again, like you're stressed out. That WrestleMania was the first week of April. The pandemic wasn't a month old.
When they did the pirate one, was that the Drew? That was
When Drew won it all,
when Drew
he beat
won,
Brock Lesnar in the empty arena, um, and I just remember getting emotional
and
at
that
the
was the
start of
Boneyard match and all
yeah,
that too,
Boneyard
wasn't
Mark,
it?
the Firefly Funhouse, a lot of
I thought it was great. I was what a wonderful thing to have happened.
yeah,
Like,
and again, like I got emotional because
yeah,
again, my favorite event is happening again. It's like I've
yeah,
always said on Ringside Heat, it's time for me to just be a kid and forget about all my problems around the world for
yeah,
2 nights, and then I'll go back to stressing out in the morning.
yeah,
But for
exactly.
that one in particular, it's more than just your life stress, your regular day-to-day problems. It's
It was
at the
wherever you looked.
time felt
Yeah,
like wherever you looked at the time kind of felt like life or death because you don't know how hard COVID was going to hit you if you got it because we've
it,
heard the stories of people
yeah,
unfortunately losing their battles and it sucks.
yeah,
Right? So for me, what
yeah.
time
Now
of
I've had it twice. I think my kids had it 3 times. It's like,
I've had it
okay,
once. I probably had it. I've had it multiple times after, and just never tested. And just mainly because I never felt as serious as I felt that first time because it hurt. But I'm never getting
yeah,
off topic. But the point is,
yeah.
WrestleMania 36 for me, it was just so. It came at a weirdly perfect time in the middle of everything. And I was just so fortunate to enjoy and appreciate everything. And then the year after WrestleMania 37, I'm tearing up again because there's fans again, and you saw the emotion of Edge, of Bianca, of Sasha, of Bobby Lashley, who were all looking around saying, "It's about time we get you guys back for even
Yeah.
for just one night. We get you guys back." And the emotion of the crowd, and because again, to me, it's my favorite event. And to me, it says this is what it's all about at the end of the day, right? So
Thunderdome was a clever workaround. I can't say I hated it. It was weird, but I mean, it was something.
yeah,
I don't know.
of course.
I thought
So
it was pretty. That's not a small thing to accomplish.
No.
To fill an
And-
arena with a bunch of TV screens and to manage that from the tech end must have been
insane. Did you ever do that? Did you ever like turn on your
Chico
webcam?
did. I did not. No.
I never did.
Yeah, Chico
I
did.
was always debating if I should have, and
Yeah.
I don't think I regret doing it, but
I think you still had the cue for it. Like it wasn't like you could just turn it on and be in there.
no,
I
of
don't
course, no,
think, was it?
obviously, no, absolutely. I'm just saying I never even signed up.
No, Chico did. He was the only one I know who did.
I feel like I knew somebody else. Maybe it was Chico. I can't remember. I know I knew somebody else.
Yeah, it was like a Raw or something. Well,
but I don't know if I
would've been.
regret not doing it. Maybe I do. But what a unique period that we were living in, and to hear the fans come back, I think you hear the sigh of relief in all of us in that last segment.
It's a great story that we're reliving again. I've been saying this since the beginning. You know, we're going to be witnessing the birth of the greatest storyline in the history of WWE, but we also have this subplot of the world coming out of one of the scariest times most of us will probably ever remember. So it's really neat to see how we're tracking this and how we're reacting to it. I like it.
So for now, our weekly episodes, at least these period of weekly episodes, will entail our road to the return of live fans, which is a July 16th.
This will be coming up. Yeah, this will be a conversation.
So that
this will be a topic.
That's still a ways to go. It's still a ways to go. Actually, I think that's by episode 11 is when the fans return.
Oh, so 7 episodes still. Wow.
So we still got a ways to go. But for
7
now,
more
folks,
weeks of the Thunderdome. Yeah.
For now, we will wrap up here. I know we went a little bit longer for this episode, but it is nice to reflect back and just be thankful of where you are today. And if you're listening, be thankful where you are today, because it was a journey that I know we will never ever forget. So next week we go on to episodes 5 and 6. Episode 5, the only constant in life is change, or the legends in our minds. I don't know why Lex put 2 titles in one. And then episode 6, a dynamic and impactful week of wrestling entertainment in the major leagues.
Wow.
Those are very lengthy episode names. Very, very, very lengthy episode names. But if we had does this give us? Oh, it does here. Okay. Episode 5. It's an extended. It's another ring crew, an extended session with the ring crew, talking about the Ultimate Warrior documentaries and AEW Double or Nothing, as well as the recent changes on the commentary desk. Okay. And then episode 6, Alan Can of STLDWrestling.com and panelist on Sauga 960's AM Peel Matters drops in to talk about the latest rumors and theories about WWE, and the complete ring crew weighs in on WWE releases and AEW successes.
Ooh,
that
was a bad batch.
Something else. So, folks, again, thank you for tuning in this week. We will see you all next Tuesday for episode 5, and then next Thursday for episode 6. So, for John Dawson, I am Jose Taboada. Thank you so much for listening in. We will see you guys next week. Take care.